Our next guest has a chance to press him on some of the critical issues. Texas Congressman Lance Gooden, Republican on the House Judiciary Committee, joins us now. Congressman, welcome to you. Christopher Wray just said a few moments ago he called the idea that he is biased against conservatives somewhat insane. What has been your biggest takeaway? What's the headline from this hearing so far?
Well, the biggest takeaway is something I've known for a while, and that there are serious problems at the FBI. And for a moment, if we give Director Wray the benefit of the doubt and say his intentions are good, I would say he needs to do more. I would say that it wasn't until late in the hearing that I finally heard him acknowledge that there were some serious problems at the FBI. Some of the instances described in the Durham report were outrageous. He finally admitted to that. And what I'd like to hear from him is more of a desire to work with Congress. We are not just here to poke and prod at the FBI. We have an oversight role. The FBI is coming to us as stewards of the taxpayers of America, wanting more money. They want a new building. They want more officers. We want to work with the FBI, but the FBI has to work with us. And some of the questions that were asked today about redactions, about turning over documents, about admitting that there were some problems that needed fixing, they weren't addressed like I wanted them to be. But it's my hope that we'll make some progress as we continue to put pressure on the leadership at the FBI.
And when you say continue, that hearing will continue in about 15, 20 minutes from now. They took a quick break for some votes there. We'll get back to it. Meanwhile, Christopher Wray did refused to answer questions about whether or not the Delaware U.S. Attorney is indeed investigating President Biden. It was an exchange from a rep from Wisconsin who asked, did Joe Biden take payments from or any other foreign companies as vice president, president, or private citizen? Wray responded, as you know, there's an ongoing investigation by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, appointed by Trump in the last administration, that our Baltimore field office is working. He was then asked again, he said, I'm not going to confirm or speak to whether or not he's under investigation. And the rep said, so he's not under investigation? He said, I didn't say that either. I mean, what did you take away from that exchange?
Well, you know, if we were in any other time, that would have been okay for him to not speak on it. But the fact is they've spoken on other things. They've pursued prosecutions and investigations that they had no business pursuing. The American people, the vast majority of them, believe there is a two-tier Justice Department, and we've got to get past that. And I think that if this FBI went out of their way to be transparent with members of Congress, if they really stepped back away from these political prosecutions, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, then the American people would actually have faith. But what I saw today was a continuation of what we've seen over the last several years, and that is an FBI that's mired in politics, and they've got a lot of work to do to get back in favor with the American people.
Well, there's been some fiery moments, including this exchange with Jim Jordan and Christopher Wray on the FBI targeting Catholics. Watch this.
What's the difference between a traditional Catholic and a radical traditional Catholic?
I'm not an expert on the Catholic orders.
Well, your FBI wrote a memo talking about radical traditional Catholics. I'm just wondering if you can define it for us.
Well, what I can tell you is you're referring to the Richmond product, which was a single product by a single field office, which as soon as I found out about it, I was aghast. When we finish our internal review, which will be very soon, we will come back before the committee
in America?
and provide a briefing on what we found.
Well, we appreciate the briefing, but we want to talk to the people who wrote it.
You were in the room. What was your reaction to that?
Well, you know, at first he was aghast, we all were, but then he goes on to say that this is an internal investigation. I understand not being able to comment on criminal investigation, but this is an internal investigation. We as members of Congress have asked for all the documents to be turned over from that. They have not been. We've asked for the names of those agents that were responsible for this outrageous report that he was aghast about. We have not received it. And so when they say this is an internal investigation, frankly, we just don't trust the FBI to do the right thing internally. I understand not being able to talk about a criminal investigation, but this particular instance, targeting Catholics, targeting religious Americans, planting spies in parishes across the United States. I don't believe the Catholics are up to any of the nefarious activity that the FBI suspects that they were involved in, which we all know what this is about. As later came out in this hearing, this is all about the election in 2024. Internal FBI documents said that the reasons for these outrageous thoughts from these Catholics around the nation, as they said, should calm down after the election. So everything about this is politics. That's what Jim Jordan was talking about. about. That's what we're trying to get the FBI to get away from. But before they do that, they've got to admit that they have a problem. They've got to talk about how they're going to fix it. And I believe that the American people want answers. And coming into the 2024 election cycle, this is the last thing we as Americans should be talking about. The FBI needs to move on from these political pursuits and prosecutions and submit to oversight by the United States Congress.
All right, Lance Gooden, the rep from Texas, I understand you stepped away from the room to do this interview. We appreciate your time. You're going to head back in there, and we know there's a lot more questions that will be fired off to Wray. We'll get back to it when it is underway again. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.